Welcome to the Secret Life of Wonder Woman. My name is Linda Todd. What is this cosmic war on women? Am I sure? Yes. Yes, I am. And let me get into it because my sisters out there, we are all walking under the weight of this war. And there's hope. God has already won the war, but the battles that keep going on and on are heavy sometimes. Sometimes they feel too heavy. But it's something that we all have in common. And it didn't start with this generation, didn't start with the previous generation. It didn't even start a few generations ago. This cosmic war on women started right in the beginning. It started in creation. John and Stasi Eldredge wrote a book called Captivating, and it's about God's heart for women. But in their book, they said something very interesting and very intriguing. When you look at the order of creation, right? God took a formless void and he created a little bit of form. And then from that little bit of form, he created more detailed form, and so on and so on. And then we got the animals, and then God created man. And man was created from the dust of the ground, as was other living things. But the difference with man is that God breathed into man himself and gave him a spirit, gave him life that came directly from God. Man was special. But God wasn't done yet. Creation wasn't finished yet. God took that man and he took a rib from the man's side. And from that rib, God created woman. Woman was not only not created from the ground like other living things were. Woman was created from the body of a man, the body of a living being that God had breathed his life into. That's where woman came from. And not only that, but because woman was the last item, if you will, the last piece of creation, it wasn't until she was created that God said, it's finished, it's done, it's all good. And so if we look at, as John and Stasi outline, if you look at creation as if it's a musical score, for example, and the music starts taking shape, it starts to build, and the music is building to a crescendo. And the crescendo, of course, is the peak of the musical score, and then it calms down again. If you look at creation in this way, woman is the crescendo of creation. She's the peak. She is the most beautiful thing that God had put together because, again, the order of creation, nothingness into somethingness, somethingness into something more, and so on, until woman was the last piece to finish this beautiful musical score. And what was going on behind the scenes, we know from the biblical accounts that Lucifer had already been cast out of heaven, took his supporters, his team, his posse, whatever you want to call them, his divine beings with him. And what was Lucifer's problem? He was proud, he was arrogant, he thought he was the most beautiful light in the heavens. And then right in front of his face, God, with eagerness, with joy, and with love, created woman. And she was the most beautiful part of creation. Not Lucifer, woman. And I submit to you that from that day forward, Satan had his eyes set on women and he hated us. And we see in Genesis 6, when the divine beings came and mingled with human women to have children by them. And thus the Nephilim came into being. And from them, it was chaos. And in the first Enoch, chapter 15, I believe, it is stated that these divine beings swore almost like a vendetta against women. They hated women. Women are the vessel through which God perpetuates life, and therefore women were the vessel that the enemy counterfeited that creation, which resulted in the Nephilim and their descendants. And so because women are who we are, not even because of what we do of our own accord, because of what we were created as and to be, we are the target of the enemy. And you go further into the New Testament when Paul is admonishing women, be modest, cover yourselves. It wasn't because women lack value and that men shouldn't be forced to look at such a thing as a woman. That wasn't it at all. Paul said in his instructions to women that we are to cover ourselves because of this, and that, and because of the angels. Look back in Genesis, those were divine beings, angelic beings, if you want to use that terminology. And these are the same beings that are hunting for us, scouting for us. And I know that sounds terrifying, and it kind of is. But if you look around throughout all of history, who is the target? And again, the Bible reminds us, Paul reminds us, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. So our struggle is not with our human male counterparts, not with the men. Our struggle is against the enemy, and Jesus is our sword and shield. So as much as this is big and overwhelming, my sisters, I want you to take courage. When we cling to the sword and shield, who is our defender in all things, we are safe. The battle rages on around us, though, and we will always be targeted wherever possible. And we see things. Feminism was meant to set us free from oppression. And I think it had noble intentions. Set us free from bondage. Now, for some reason, some saw that being home and raising children had become some sort of bondage. And it was only so because the enemy was trying to convince us so and used human beings to sully that God-given privilege. But then where did feminism take us? It has taken us to where women are told, and we don't all believe it. I'm not suggesting this is a blanket statement, but I hear it that men are dispensable, men are disposable. We don't need men. We need to, be on our own and do this and that. And we have lost the God-given privilege that God created us to flourish in. And yes, childbirth is painful. That is a side effect, if you will, of the fall. It's what we put up with. It's what we have to endure. We have to endure that. But we all know the joy and the beauty and the wonder that is with seeing children born. And if you are the one that gives birth to that child, it's overwhelming. But even that, the enemy has sought to destroy that. Abortion has been probably since almost the beginning. But nowadays, it has almost become something. In fact, in many places, it has become something that you're not allowed to speak against. The killing of unborn children within their mother's womb is not to be criticized. It is to be tolerated through and through as if it's a good idea. And I know that people can argue one side and another about abortion. The fact is, it is killing a living child. And unless you are going to be honest about the facts, then there really is no more room for conversation. And it is so tragic that quite often the ones who perpetrate that lie the most are women. What has happened to us? This is a symptom of the attack of the enemy. When we see women who have been rejected from home and family and society, and they live in rough circumstances, a lot of these women tend to lose what we would consider their femininity. That is the enemy robbing them of the beauty that God gave them. And we have seen, I have witnessed when women are restored and healed and come back to the woman that we were created to be, femininity is also restored. Because that's who God created us to be. Now, I'm not talking about every woman is a girly girl. I don't mean that. We're all unique. We're all individuals. But even those of us who are not so girly, we still have an innate femininity because that's what God has bestowed on us. And the enemy is attacking that. I'm going to leave it there for today, but we're going to get more into this cosmic war on women. How can we get through it? What is the answer? What's the future? The future is unnerving. It's a white knuckle ride. But again, I will say, Jesus Christ is our sword and our shield, and he is our defender. And when we rest in him, when we hide behind him, we are safe. But the enemy is still attacking. The cosmic war on women. Let's talk about this more next time. This is The Secret Life of Wonder Woman. Please like, share, and subscribe. I want everybody to join into this conversation. If you agree with what I've said, if you don't agree with what I've said, please comment below. I want this to be a two-way conversation. Challenge me and be prepared to be challenged, please. We need to get to the heart of all of this for our own good.